They called her Mother of the Market, but not out of respect. Her real name was Sewa, and no one ever saw her pregnant, only barefoot, only sweating, only walking down from the hills every few weeks with blood on her skirt and a bundle in her arms. She never cried, never smiled. She would place the wrapped infant into the hands of a waiting stranger, take a pouch of coin, and vanish into the forest before the baby even stopped crying. The village pretended not to see, pretended it was rumor, pretended her bundles were goats, cloth, or medicine. But deep down, they all knew, because every buyer came from outside, men in long coats, women with foreign tongues, never the same face twice, and the babies, never seen again. The healer once tried to stop her, waited by the trail, blocked her path, demanded to know where the children were going. Siwa stared at her for a long time, then calmly said, "Far from here, where screams don't echo." Then she kept walking, and that night, the healer's hut caught fire. No one could explain it, but after that, no one asked Sewa questions again. They said Sewa lived in a hut that didn't exist. No one knew exactly where she stayed, only that she came from the hills, barefoot, always after heavy rain. Her body bore no signs of birth, no swelling, no pain, only silence, as if her womb had been traded long ago for something colder, something mechanical. But the babies were real. They cried, they squirmed, they breathed, and yet none of them ever stayed past the sunset. One day, a young midwife named Tama followed her, brave, foolish, curious. She waited until Sewa passed through the market, holding a newborn wrapped in palm leaves. Then she crept through the bush, tracing Sewa's path up the slope, deeper into the trees, beyond the sacred stones where even hunters feared to tread. What she found was not a hut. It was a clearing, silent, circular, with 7 stakes hammered into the earth, each with a strip of cloth tied to the top, fluttering despite the still air. In the center sat a wooden stool, blood still fresh beneath it. Sewa stood over a bowl of herbs, chanting in a language Tama didn't recognize. She laid the baby on a mat, smeared something dark across its chest, and placed a coin beneath its tongue. Then she whispered, "Another for the debt." Tama's breath caught, but Sewa didn't turn. She simply said without looking, "Go home, girl, or stay, and watch what happens when a mother becomes a gate." Tama ran. Branches tore at her legs, thorns clawed her arms, but she didn't stop. Her lungs burned, her heart pounded, and still, she ran. Because behind her, she swore she heard more than footsteps. She heard whispers, the kind that don't come from mouths. When she burst into the village, bleeding and breathless, she tried to speak. The elders told her to hush. The healer turned her face away. Even her own mother locked the door and said, "Some truths feed on the tongue." But Tama couldn't forget. She began to ask questions. Why had no one ever reported Sewa? Why did the strangers always know when to arrive? Why was the chief's house always full, but never with children? And why, every time a baby vanished, did a new roof rise somewhere in the village the following week? People started avoiding her. Some said she was cursed, but she knew better. She was awake. One night, she crept back to the clearing, but it was gone. No stool, no stakes, no blood. Only a single coin in the grass, shining under the moonlight. When she picked it up, her fingers burned. On the surface, a symbol, not currency, not tribal, something older, a sigil of trade, of sacrifice, of power through surrender. If this story is waking something in you too, subscribe and tap the bell. What Sewa trades isn't just blood. It's a legacy that goes far beyond birth. After that night, Tama stopped speaking. Not because she couldn't, but because no one was listening. The villagers now looked at her the way they once looked at Sewa, sideways, with fear and guilt tucked behind their teeth. Children were pulled from her path. Men whispered about madness. Women wept in silence. But the dream started anyway, not just for Tama, for everyone. They saw Sewa walking between houses at night, her bare feet never touching the ground. They heard babies crying from inside cooking pots. One mother said she saw her own child, long dead, standing outside her window, holding a coin in its mouth. The elders called for cleansing, but the fire wouldn't light. The drummers lost their rhythm. Even the priest forgot the words, because Sewa had changed the village, and not through curses, through commerce. She didn't sell babies for money. She sold burdens to spirits, to shadows, to forces that dealt in pain for peace. And the villagers? They were all complicit, every home fed by the silence, every belly full from a deal they never dared name. Tama finally understood. Sewa wasn't alone. She was part of a system. And the market was only the beginning. Tama couldn't unsee the truth. She wandered the village like a ghost, watching mothers cradle babies they knew wouldn't stay, watching fathers count coins with shaking hands. No one said the word sold. They used phrases like gone to the city or blessed adoption. But Tama had seen the sigil. She had held the coin. She knew what price was really being paid. And one night, she returned to the forest, alone. The clearing had returned, this time waiting for her. 7 stakes, 1 stool, a bowl still warm, and Sewa sitting cross-legged watching. "You came back," she said, not surprised. "I want to know," Tama whispered. "You already do," Sewa replied. "Now you must choose, forget or become." Tama stepped forward. "There's no in-between?" Sewa's smile was sad. There never was. She handed Tama the bowl. Inside was more than herbs. There was a piece of cloth, soft and stained. Tama recognized it, her own first wrap from when she was born. How? But she didn't finish, because now she understood. Sewa hadn't just been selling babies. She had been keeping records. And every girl in the village was already part of the ledger. Tama never came back from the forest, but the next week, a new woman began appearing in the market, barefoot, silent, carrying a bowl and a bundle, her face hidden behind a red cloth. She didn't speak. She didn't need to. The villagers knew, and none of them stopped her. Sewa was gone. No trace, no farewell, no grave. But the system stayed, because it was never about Sewa. It was about what she offered, a way to erase shame, escape burden, trade the unbearable for something quiet, even if it was cruel. A mother's pain for a village's peace. Now, Tama wore the silence like a crown. She walked the same path, carried the same bowl, made the same trade. But her eyes, they were not Sewa's. They didn't carry regret. They carried understanding. That in a world where the poor have nothing but wombs, Even love can become currency. And somewhere, beyond the trees, another buyer was always waiting. If your only way out was to trade something you love, would you do it? Would you carry the guilt or the child? Let me know your truth in the comments. Still thinking about the price of sacrifice? Watch. He sacrificed his own daughter, alive to gain power. Next. Because in this world no power comes free.